it was really tough to work in languages that I didn't speak. I've auditioned a lot to a point of
numbness.
Yeah, to a point of just saying, oh God, I don't want to do this anymore. But in Mirzapur, there was no actor prep. There was just stress about lines, about how do I learn Tamil and how do I learn Telugu. Now I have no excuses about doing bad acting on camera.
This is the role I'm going to land, and then it just didn't end up happening.
Oh, there are many that didn't end up happening. I have a list of those.
Are you a loser? Are you a freak? Do you need a lover? Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me.
Welcome to Real Strugglers, where we talk to real filmmakers and actors about their struggles working in the chaotic world of films. Today, our guest is actor-dancer Isha Talwar.
Hello.
So, were you keen on being an actor when you were younger?
I think when I was about 16 and I was writing board exams and I was in the library studying, I saw some songs and I kept thinking about that song and I kept thinking it'd be nice to do this when I grew up. Yeah, so I think somewhere when I was 16, 17.
And did you start dance at that time, or?
Dance happened in college. Yes, when I was in college, first year, yes, I was offered a scholarship at the Terence Lewis dance company.
But were you trained in dancing in any way before that, or?
No, I didn't even know I could dance. The last thing I had done was Yaire Yaire when I was in, when the film had come out. When did Rangila come out? I think I was all of
90s sometime?
10, yeah.
94,
I must have
95?
Oh, then I must have been 8 or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that was my last dancing gig. And then suddenly I had a friend who was going for dance class and she said, why don't you come? And I said, okay. And I went for it and turned out I could dance.
But this was, but it wasn't something you were actively pursuing, like acting.
Turns out I could dance. Huh?
But acting was not something you were actively pursuing. It just
No.
like dance happened first, and then you kind of.
Yeah. They came to the studio to audition a bunch of girls for a TV commercial for Yahoo. And then that was the first time I faced the camera as an adult. And I said, this is very unnerving, but I would like to do it.
Were you uncomfortable in front of camera?
Oh, I was nervous. I still am
Mhm.
on most days. But I'm getting better. At least my heart, at least the sound recordist, he won't die, with my heartbeat going. Yeah, but I'm much better now. I think I'm getting better at it.
But how do you get more comfortable? Like, how do you lose your inhibitions?
I personally go to a lot of acting workshops because I feel like when I'm learning, when I'm constantly learning is when I feel confident.
And what was your first acting workshop? How old were you when you were doing it?
When I was 21, right after college, I went for Gitanjali Kulkarni's workshop. Really fabulous. She was in Court, Marathi film Court, and a whole bunch of other things that she wasn't doing so much film back then. But now she's doing a lot of film work also. Absolutely fantastic. I did workshops with Neeraj Kabi, Jehan's theatre professionals. They had a bunch of teachers who were visiting faculty that would come from abroad. So I did a whole bunch of things.
But this was like a few years into dancing and a few years.
Yes. Just when I decided after dance, I said, I'm done with dancing. I want to be an actor full time. I think that TV commercial kind of did it for me. I said, okay, I'd like to try this more. So I had to kind of put that on hold because that's very time consuming. We were there like 12 hours a day. So I knew I couldn't do anything else if I continued to be a dancer. So I said, okay, I will explore acting.
And were your parents, I know your dad's a filmmaker, right?
Yes.
And were they cool with you
Yeah.
switching
There's never
over?
been a conversation in the house about this.
Would you go to set with him when you were younger?
I did go in 8th grade. I used to assist in the camera department.
Yeah, what did you do?
I think I used to be a little clapper girl.
Clap.
Clapper
Did you
girl,
put
yes.
tape on for markers and stuff?
I think I did. It was, they were shooting Hamari Bahu Malini Iyer with Shri Devi.
Okay.
Yeah, with Shri Devi ji. So I was on that set.
Did your dad also give you like advice when you were like starting out on like how to
He
approach these
tried.
things?
I didn't really listen. No.
So you prefer making your own
I
judgment
did
calls on
listen
these
to him
things?
for a few years. I figured that, he comes from a different school of thought. And I realized that I had to find my own way. I listened to him till a certain point. Then I said, okay, I need to grow up. I need to make my own decisions. I need to figure this out on my own.
And
Because if I regret later, it should be mine.
yeah, you have to make your own
You make your own
mistakes.
mistakes.
Then you have no one to
regret
blame
later.
also.
You cry on your pillow alone. You do your own things, but you do it And you take the onus of it.
Yeah.
You don't blame other people.
No, if you blame other people, then you'll always keep blaming other people. You might as well, if you've taken someone advice, it's your fault for taking it, and if it fails, it's as much your fault.
Yeah.
So I mean, you started doing ads, and then how did you end up in a Malayali film?
A Malayalam film happened when I was doing a TV commercial in Bombay, and somebody said, okay, there's a TV commercial in Kerala for Datari. Would you like to do it? I said, okay, sure. I had just started, and the cameraman, Joe Mon, he saw me. He was shooting the commercial, and he said, we're going to make a film. So why don't you audition? Because I think you fit the part. And he was right. I auditioned, and I did fit pretty well.
So what I've heard, at least, I mean, I don't know much about the Malayalam film industry, but at least in Telugu, there's no audition type thing that happens. They say, they just see your face, they ask if you're bubbly, and then they cast you. But so how did the casting process work for a Malayali film?
He auditioned me. Vinny shot a few scenes with me.
So he auditioned you, did a few scenes, but was it challenging for you to like do the lines in another language? Because that was probably your first exposure to
Yes, it was.
South
It was,
Indian
but
language.
Yeah, it was. It was very hard. I couldn't understand a word of what I was saying. And it was my first film. So it's not like I was an experienced actor. So it was very, very hard. But Vinny kind of helped me out with the audition. And then later I said, I want lines before. I had a tutor in Bombay. I would sit with her and read all the lines. And I would take audio bites. And I would keep listening to the language.
So you
my
would keep
dialogue.
playing it back also when you were on set to...
Yeah, I had to. But I had memorized that one pretty well because he gave me the script in advance.
But is it challenging to, like, I'm sure you think in a certain language and you're acting in a language you're not very familiar with. You just know the words that are on the paper. How do you draw conviction in a scene when you are saying words that aren't connected to you fully?
Yeah, so Vineet actually is a very good director. He gave the right emotional cues for the scenes to work out. And he would not confuse me. You know what I mean? A lot of directors come and give you briefs that confuse the hell out of you.
Yeah, they give you too much information.
Yeah, it's too much information before a take. I mean, any kind of information that needs to be given should be given much before so that any human being can process it and come back. But I got really spoiled with Vineet because I thought, oh wow, all directors are going to be like that. And then after that started, I did a whole bunch of films where I got no direction, and that really threw me off over the years. I said, because their languages I didn't speak in, so I thought, if I'm getting direction like the way Vineet gave it, then it was pretty clear what I had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gave the script in advance. Whatever needed to be done happened prior. It was not high pressure situation on set. He was extremely well prepared. I remember when I went for the audition, he made me hear the songs.
Okay.
He was ready with his music. He knew exactly. He could see the film in his head. He spoiled me a little bit. And then I just worked with him after 11 years. And I was acting with him this time. So it was it was quite interesting. I was quite happy to share the frame with him. Acting with him. Yeah, my first director.
And I mean, before this film, you had already done a couple of workshops?
Yeah, I had done a little bit before this film.
So you weren't going in completely raw. You kind of
No,
knew the
well,
craft a little.
The thing with workshops is that also is you do something, then you have to kind of like sleep over it sometime. You have to kind of practice it. You have to do all of that. Just going to a workshop, some of the workshops are barely 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
The recent ones that I went for, of course, they were much longer, but usually they're not so long unless you go to drama school or something like that. So you have to really spend time kind of...
Honing the craft.
Yeah, you have to practice it and it takes a long time. But I had got that film pretty quickly. Yeah, I was pretty lucky to get my first film really fast.
I did a few South Indian films after that, and they were all through, like, this film was kind of like your calling card in a way for...
Yeah, this became my showreel. Yeah, and this was my showreel for all the work that I got after that.
And what other language have you done? You've done Telugu?
I've done Tamil, I've done Telugu, and I've done Malayalam, and now I've done Punjabi, which is my mother tongue, and Hindi.
So out of all these languages, Malayalam, I'm sure you know. Punjabi, you probably speak.
Little bit. I speak more Malayalam than Punjabi. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you went
I
for
spent
tuitions.
many years in Kerala.
How many Malayalam films have you done?
I think about 14
14?
Yes, I think about 14.
Damn, that's a
including
lot.
lot of guest appearances. I think I was the guest appearance queen at one point in Malayalam.
But did it ever get frustrating for you that you were getting work over there, not in Bombay, or like...
It was really funny because I had already become a huge star after my first film. And then I was at Aram Nagar giving auditions. And I'd come back
Fit,
to
not
Bombay.
fit? One
Fit,
of those?
not fit. No, that never happened to me. But I knew I was giving about 4-5 auditions a day. They were nice to me. That I never really got thrown off. Also, I'm not the kind of person who will take crap from people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just not that kind of person. Earlier, I was a bit naive and I would be scared to say things. Now, yeah, there's no way that you're going to want to mess with me too much.
You know, but that happens to a lot of people who just like start giving out auditions. They like this, they're so eager to please the other person that they will put themselves in like places where they can be treated badly or...
Yeah, that happens to you initially. I think sometimes when you come from, I come from a film background, but my dad's never really helped me with getting work, or because the whole process had changed. By the time I started acting, there were no casting directors. There were no... It's a bit more systemized now. It was not so... Is systemized a word?
Systematic?
Systematic.
Yeah.
I was like, systemized? This is not a word I've heard before. Yeah, it is a bit more systematic now. But back in the day, all of that didn't happen. So I don't think he understood how the industry kind of, how the casting process, because he was more behind the scenes and more directing. I want to be in front of the camera. It is initially a bit more intimidating when you start out because, like I said, my dad never helped me. But I had to give a lot of auditions at Aram Nagar. So it was funny because I had kind of become a star in Malayalam. And then Bombay, I was this real struggler, a complete real struggler in Bombay. So it kind of threw me off on many days.
But did the work you did in the South didn't really matter over here? Was it like that?
I actually never ended up doing any kind of PR.
Okay.
I still don't do any PR. So I think that kind of, I don't, because most people in Bombay also wondered where the hell I was. Because they had no idea. I don't think Instagram, social media was, 11 years ago, it was not so big.
Yeah.
And even now, a lot of filmmakers and a lot of people are not on it. So they won't really know where you are unless you really stay in touch with people. And that kind of gets hard after a point. I mean, how many people will you really stay in touch with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without it also seeming forced.
Yeah, without getting into somebody's private space too much. You want to let people breathe also. Just because somebody's a filmmaker, you don't want to keep bothering them also. But at the same time, of course, you do want to. But there are casting directors in Bombay that one can reach out to. And that's what I did. So yeah, I think I kind of had a little bit of a tough time finding that balance.
How many years did that take till you started getting work that you were happy with?
8 years.
8 years?
Yeah, 8 or 9 years.
And in that same time, you were doing films in the South?
Yes.
So was it going for these films in the South kind of hampering your possibilities of getting work here because you weren't actively present in Bombay?
I wouldn't say hamper because I was getting work. I was a working actor. So I'm not going to say it was getting hampered, but that is what I was destined for, to get, to begin there, to kind of start. It was really tough to work in languages that I didn't speak. And that's how it happened. And I don't want to, it happened like that. I don't know why. That's how it happened. And
but you have so much to take home from that, right? When you language you speak, you have a different audience you would have probably never
a different culture,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have explored South the way I have. Working in the South has really shaped many things for me. Yeah, it really has, in terms of discipline on set, in terms of just how they approach filmmaking, how they kind of write their scripts, how they look at cinema is very different from how they look at cinema here.
And were you a big movie buff growing up?
No.
Then how did you want to do it? You like this?
I still don't watch too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I still don't watch any shows or any films.
So in your free time, what do you end up doing? If you have free time, that is.
I prefer to go to a lot of, I've just spent 6 months at this lovely institute called Natana Kairali in Irinalakuda, Kerala, learning acting. And completely a different system of acting based on the Natya Shastra, based on the Indian philosophy, based on Indian approach to acting, which I hadn't experienced anywhere in Bombay. So I have other interests. I do want to spend time at home when I'm not working. I want to just chill and lie down on my mother's lap and just chat with her and gossip for like 5-6 hours. And we have lots of things to talk about. I've been going for Ayurveda for about 10 years now. So I need some downtime there. I have a lot of friends that I want to, meet and know what they're up to. And so I like to interact with the real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And so what is the difference between the acting training you just did from the acting training that you did in Bombay? Like, is it...
Bombay was more like the workshops were good, but I think they were just more tool-based. The kind of work that we did in Kerala this time was, firstly, it's a lot of release work. You really have to empty yourself out, and you're not really being told at all points what you have to do. You're just being given a rough idea, and then you have to come up with scenes. You have to come up with improvisations. You have to there's a lot more participation from your side vis-a-vis the workshops in Bombay. That was a completely different experience. That, like I said, nobody's talking about things like the Natya Shastra or Navarasa, the traditional way of approaching it. This is also based on Guruji Venuji is he's a master of Kuriyattam, which is the oldest surviving theatre in the world. And he's started with Kathakali. So a lot of eye exercises, which nobody really is talking about in Bombay. I mean, after I did the first phase, there are 8 phases to this workshop, I was quite taken aback, surprised. I was like, how did I not think of this earlier? Like, for many years, it played on my mind that I have to go to Kerala and learn some amount of Kathakali, because I know they do a lot of stuff with the facial muscles and especially the eyes. Because you realize on camera, it's the most significant thing.
Yeah, because
really is.
Scenes happen like this most of the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, scenes happen in long, mid, everything. Scenes happen. But the most important tool of communication is your eyes. So I felt very lucky to get that kind of training. I felt very privileged. I said, wow, this is something that I don't think I would have, because it's changed my approach to acting.
And did you get to apply it on your shoot right after that?
I did. Actually, this was the first film, the Punjabi film that I just did was the first piece of work that I did after 3 phases of Navarasa Sadhana. And it felt completely different. The kind of flow that I felt, I haven't felt that kind of flow in like 12 years of acting.
And is it, what was different? Was it the on-set scene experience, or even the way you go into a scene and prepare for a scene?
Everything. The way you prepare for it, the way you approach the script, the way on-set, how you feel, in between shots. That's very important. You have to really keep yourself there, because you're there working 12, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
You really have to have a certain kind of temperament to be on a film set.
Do you stay in character through between takes as well, or
it depends?
Or are you like, when someone calls cut, you be burst of laughing?
The last film that I did, actually, for most parts, I stayed in character because it was hard to just keep going in and out of character. I realized it wasn't the right thing to do, because then it takes me that much more effort to get into it. I'd rather stay in it. Yeah, because it was fun. Yeah.
But in like scenes that are emotionally draining, that also must be like physically and mentally exhausting to stay in that element for even first scene is shot.
Yeah, those are nice to knock off in 3 takes, I realize. I'm also, over the years, I realized my first take is probably my best take. Yeah, it always happens with me. You think you can better it, and of course there are times you can better it, but I've realized with me, a lot of it, like I know a lot of Mirzapur is 1 take, a lot of Saas Bahu is 1 take. Whom he doesn't like to overshoot. So max 2 or 3. 3 is also too much, I think. Yeah, but Mirzapur, I know for sure, most of it was 1 take. One take artist.
So now people know when they're casting you that they can save money on scheduling.
Oh, well, provided you give me the script on time.
Yeah,
if
that
you don't,
is key.
then good luck to you.
Coming back to applying the tools that you use, how do you kind of like get it ingrained in you to be able to do it without it being an effort? You know,
You have
like,
to do it every day. It's simple.
so it's like a riyaz of
Yeah,
sorts.
so that's the thing. So I realized that I've done workshops with Nasir sir also, Nasiruddin Shah, and he said that dancers train every day, singers train every day. Actors are the laziest people. They don't think it's important to train, and that has stuck with me because I said, but I wasn't finding something. What do you do as an actor? What do you do? You get up in the morning and you start randomly reading scenes, or do you want to just pick up a text, or do you want to sure, you can work on your voice, you can do all of that. But there is, how do you work on the emotional flow? How do you go about understanding? Firstly, you have to understand your emotions. Then you're taking on somebody else's emotions. Plus, I think with social media, we've built another personality. Most of us have. Mine is still pretty close to who I am. But I think we're just building so many personalities also now. So I think I did not understand with the training in Bombay how I could get up in the morning and have a routine for Riyaz. But with the training in Kerala, I have a very clear system now. It's the 9 rasas that you work on, it's the eye exercises that you do every morning. So it's very clear instructions of as to what you have to do to stay in touch with, so that if you suddenly go to set after 6 months, because I know I finished shooting last year, November 2022, and then I went to a film set 7 months later. So how do you still feel kind of connected to the whole thing? But I was constantly doing the workshop. That really helped me. And then now I have a system. I know if I have to get up, if I have to just practice acting, I know how to do it now, which I didn't know for 13 years as an actor.
So the things that you do they involve like reading scenes also, or just like specific exercises that you do?
No, they don't involve reading scenes. You do the improvisations there. There is a thing called Vyabhichari Bhav, which is in the Natya Shastra, which you have 533 of those kind of human experiences. So you kind of do each one every day over there, as part of your exercise, because they believe that everything that a human being would probably feel is all part of those 533 human experiences. You kind of work on the rasa. You don't work on the scenes, because scene work is, once you've understood the character and you've understood the energy of the character, you don't really need to keep doing scenes, because I think that gets a bit mechanical, just doing the same lines again and again.
But in certain cases, when you do get a script and you get casted and you don't identify with the choices that a character is making, or it's not clear in the script, how do you draw your own needs and wants or your motivations for the scene?
You asked this question to another actor, no? I saw it on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't agree with something, you have to talk to your director and you have to ask them, why is it there? And these are all, like I said, these are all discussions to be had
In pre-production.
You don't go to set and start discussing things, because filmmaking is expensive. You have to respect, and there are 200, 250 people working on that film set. So any issues, anything that needs to be addressed, you speak to your director, and I'm sure there's never been a way where one has not been able to figure it out, So there will be discussion, there will be some input from your side, and most times they're happy to take it also. Some of the directors are very happy to take your input and some are not. So they will tell you why they think a certain way. So either you convince them or they convince you.
But has there ever been a case where they haven't convinced you or you haven't convinced them?
Oh, well, recently for the Punjabi film, yes, they did start out with a very different brief. And then closer to the shoot date, the brief kept changing. And I said, look, you have to stick to one thing now. You cannot keep changing the brief of the character, because I have no time anymore. So we had to kind of design it along the way, and I think they were happy to go with what I had in mind, because I think they felt like I felt pretty rooted in what I was saying, and I kind of knew what I was saying. So they were happy to go with it eventually. Yeah, but there was a little bit of extra discussions there.
At least it happened in pre-production.
No, it happened a little bit on set
Shoot
also.
Okay.
It did happen on shoot, but it's okay. We talked it out.
But in terms of your approach to handling scenes, have you worked with directors who do expect actors to bring more to the scene in terms of improv in their own blocking? Or has it been more
Not
like
yet.
planned out, very...
Not yet. Not yet. But I'm hoping that will happen.
So if you don't know the language and you've done a scene and you thought your performance, even if the lines weren't delivered in the right way, carried the right vocal emotion, have you been able to like do it to a T in a dub?
Yeah.
So how do you work on dubbing then? Because you don't have necessarily an eyeline exchange when you're reading with someone. You're just doing it
Dubbing,
off.
you just hear what you've done and you repeat it, because chances are you've shot something a year ago and then you're dubbing 1 year later. Because you will dub much later for a project, so you really won't remember much because you would have done
Other roles
beach way. You would have done some other work. You would have done some stuff for content creation on Instagram. You would have traveled the world. Yeah, so it's best that one hears what they did and just repeat. If you do feel you can better it a little bit, then you better it. I don't think that necessarily happens, but you can.
But have you ever been disappointed with your output in a dub rather than...
No, I don't. No, I don't leave the studio until I'm happy.
Okay.
Yeah. They have to sometimes push me out and say, "Oh, we got it." So I just say, no. Yeah, I don't leave.
Have you had any experience in theatre and stuff? Because Bombay does have a
Yes, I
vibrant
have done
theatre.
some plays. I have done a little bit of theatre in Bombay.
But have you ever thought of doing it like between shoots?
Now I feel like maybe I want to do a play. Yeah, I want to do some amount of stage. Little bit, yes.
30, and you're okay with like 30 days rehearsals and then...
I think it should be at least 3 months.
Okay.
You can't put up anything in 30-day rehearsal. It's hard.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
very
it's
hard.
Yeah, for theatre it is. If you want to really make something, it needs that much time.
So when you did do the plays, this was during college, or was this...
No, this was after college when I was doing all the workshops. I had braces, so I thought nobody will cast me with braces. So I said, okay, let me utilize my time and let me do acting workshops, let me learn it, and let me do some amount of theatre. That's when I did some plays.
In terms of now the rest of your journey so far, like has there been any point where you like were unhappy with the kind of work you were doing?
Yeah. In Tamil and Telugu, I
Was
think I
it-
was very unhappy with what I was doing.
What was the reason?
It just didn't feel like,
They weren't fulfilling characters, or the films weren't...
no, it just didn't feel the right kind of energy. I just didn't feel the right kind of energy. It just felt like you were, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it was just, I didn't feel like I belonged there.
Was
Like when I go to a film set, I want to belong to that set. I am going to be working with those people for many months.
Yeah.
I want to go, I want to feel at home. I never felt at home on those sets.
And what was different on the that made you feel more at home on a Malayalam film set?
I think Malayalam, because my first film was such a blockbuster and I had become such an overnight star, they tend to treat you differently when you have, when they know, okay, she's already got a big film behind her. So people kind of talk to you differently. They talk to you differently, they treat you differently, you feel differently. It's a different kind of a vibe on that set. Yeah.
And in Telugu and Tamil, because they were your first films over there, it was more like...
Yeah,
You
though
were kind
in
of an
Malayalam,
outsider?
when I actually went for my first film shoot with Vinit, I never felt like, he didn't make me feel any less, Yeah, but the other sets, you kind of always struggled. That's why I say he spoiled me a little bit. Because when I went on that set, I felt at home. Even though it was my first piece of work, he never treated me any differently than the other people on set. But in Tamil Telugu, it just, I don't know, it just didn't come together.
Also, I think it's about you also, like you said, it's about vibes, right? You have to work with people that kind of make you put out better work. If it's an uncomfortable environment, I think you won't put out the best
It's not
work.
necessarily uncomfortable, but it's just not the right kind of
not
creative
welcoming?
atmosphere. It's not the right creative atmosphere. It's not an atmosphere where creativity will necessarily flow.
But were the characters that you were casted for characters that you liked, and it was just the experience that wasn't?
I didn't really understand characters back
Okay.
then. Until Mirzapur happened, I don't think I understood
Oh, really?
how to build a character. No. Because I'm also working in languages that I don't speak. So it's anyway a lot of pressure to speak those languages and to emote, not just speak them, but emote in them to understand what a co-actor is saying. I don't think it was necessarily the right kind of, I think welcoming is a word. Yeah. Sometimes when you walk into a room, you know whether you are truly welcomed or you're just there for the, people look at you like maybe you're there just for the sake of it. Yeah, I don't think those kind of sets were necessarily the most welcoming.
Yeah, and also I think a big problem with, commercial cinema is also they kind of use people as verbal props. Like you're just there in scenes to deliver dialogues, and there's not like that collaborative
it was a bit
effort.
like you were being treated like a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a girl on a South Indian set, like a Tamil Telugu set, I think the setups that I was a part of, I'm not saying all of the setups, but the setup that I was a part of, I was really being treated like a puppet, and like I had left my brain at home or something. Yeah.
And how do you cope with that though?
Yeah, that was very hard for me to understand. I couldn't understand why they were treating me like that. And when you're just starting out, it's hard to raise your voice, and it's hard to firstly understand what you want out of yourself in films and what kind of roles you want to do, what is acting all about. All of that is anyway a little bit difficult when you start out. And then to cope with a film set where you're not welcomed was not very easy.
Was there a bit of fear about like they'll think I'm a difficult person to work with, or did that ever come to your mind, which is why you weren't outspoken?
Yeah, I think that crossed my mind a few times, that they'll think I'm like this, North girl who's come from Bombay and she's going to like throw a shit fit about being on a set. I think I was constantly made to feel that also, though I've never really been a person who's thrown any kind of tantrums anywhere. So, but they were still, I think they had these preconceived notions that, okay, all these girls who come from Bombay are, really like going to make life difficult for us. So let's treat them badly right from the start.
But when you did your first Hindi film, did you have the same kind of problems over there?
No, not for Kalakandi. It was a really nice set to be on. I had a great time working with Saif, Akshat. Yeah, Saif in particular. He's a really good actor.
Yeah, and so that came out before Article 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kalakandi was first.
And was it, by that time, did you already have a established like idea of who your casting directors who kept calling you back for auditions? Because I think after 3-4 auditions.
Yeah, I was doing repeat auditions. They all have, I fool around with them and I say you all have like 1,000 tapes of me each. Yeah. I've auditioned a lot to a point of
numbness.
Yeah, to a point of just saying, oh God, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to audition, but I kept going on. I knew I had to keep doing it.
And I'm sure also like there's a lot of shortlisting, which is also emotionally draining, right?
Yeah, there is a lot of, when you're new, there's like that call that you get, okay, you've got this job. That's just adbhutam. You're like, wow, I've got something, because you audition for like 20 things and you maybe get one, out of 20, 30 things. But as I kept auditioning, I kept getting more work. So that, for me, I was pretty lucky like that, because I did about more than 100 TV commercials. So I kept getting a lot of ads. I kept getting film in the South, a lot of films in the South. So yeah, even though they were not the most welcoming sets, I was still a working actor. And I realized that it's also something about me, maybe, that I'm, it's about how I am also, I needed to be less fearful. Yeah, if I had been less fearful, I think it would have been a lot better for me.
But what were you scared of?
But it took me and just, you carry a lot of fears, no? When you're in your 20s.
Is it like fear of failure?
Yeah, it's about being judged. It's about validation. It's about all those things.
Yeah, as an actor, you're bearing yourself.
You want to be successful. You want to be good. You want to make your parents happy. You want to make yourself happy. You want that feeling of, oh, I know this. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you kind of go through at that point when you start something new.
Okay, so you've done a bunch of auditions and I'm sure you got shortlisted quite early on. Did you get really excited that this is my first shortlisting? Did you think, okay, this is the role I'm going to land, and then it just didn't end up happening?
Oh, there are many that didn't end up happening. I have a list of those. Many films where I was told, films where they said, oh, you're going to be launched in this film with so-and-so actor. And they would not even tell you. They would tell you like 6 months later, I'd find out from a newspaper.
When you see the
Then when
poster.
I'm like, wow, I'm not in this. They told me I was in this. I thought I got the job. But no, many times, many times. And I thought that was very, I think that's bad behavior. If you've told somebody you're going to cast them, just make that call or make that message and say, hey, you've not got it.
Yeah.
Simple.
Even for shortlisting, I think a lot of people get like they shortlist 5 characters for one part, and none of them, other than the person casted for it, are informed about what's happening with the show.
Yeah, see, I understand that there are thousands of people auditioning, and you can't tell people all the time. You can't tell all the 500 who've come. But if there is the final list of 3 people or 5 people, I think that much is not too much to ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. You can't go around telling 100
everyone.
people. But 5 people, 10 people, hey, you've not got the part. That's all. I don't think that's very difficult, right?
So when did that get numb for you? Like, okay, I don't care.
I never got numb. I always kept working. I always went to dance class. I was learning Kathak after Terence, after I left Terence's academy. I learned Kathak for 5 years. I was doing shows, not necessarily Kathak shows where I was being paid, but I was happy to go with my teacher and, with the troupe. We'd go by train, we'd go by buses, we'd do public transport, we'd do our classical shows. I've always been busy. I've never really sat at home sulking. No matter what happened, I got up and I went to work. Today, when I look back, I'm very happy about that I never really sat at home and said, oh, it's not happening and, oh, what to do. I did a workshop, I did a voice class, voice training, because I used to get very scared of dubbing earlier. A lot of, in my childhood, I was told, a lot of people used to make fun of my voice in school also, because I have a bit of a bass in my voice, right? It's a bit on the bass side. So, they call it heavy and manly. Whatever. So I used to get conscious as a child because I think I was really young, and then the voice that would come out was, even now they look at me and a lot of people do double takes, then they'll be like, did this voice just come out of this girl? Because they're expecting like this very pretty girly voice to come out of me, and suddenly they're like, oh, she sounds pretty solid. So I think I was very conscious about that growing up. So I said, okay, so whatever I was conscious of, I went and learned it.
Yeah.
Just to get that fear, insecurity out of my way and just to tackle it in my way. I had to find some way around it, because you can't, if it's bothering you, you have to do something about it. And I'm very happy that I always ended up doing something about it. Yeah.
So you also mentioned earlier that you understood character only when Mirzapur came along. So how would you break down your scenes before that, and what was pre-Mirzapur actor prep and post-Mirzapur actor prep?
Pre-Mirzapur, there was no actor prep. There was just stress about lines, about how do I learn Tamil and how do I learn Telugu. Can I just go and just vomit these lines? It was literally like that. Then slowly, as Mirzapur happened, I got my script 4 months before, and I have an acting teacher in Bombay. We sat down for 4 months and we broke down the scenes. I said, okay, now this is something which has come in my own mother tongue. Now I have no excuses about doing bad acting on camera. So I better put my mind to this. And then we kind of broke that down for 4 months. It took me that much time. And then I knew the day I walked onto that set, I was Madhuri Yadav. I knew it. I didn't have to think about what am I going to do, how am I going to say it, what is my body language going to be like. Nothing. I didn't have to think. I knew when I walked in, as Madhuri Yadav,
Were there table reads that you did for these shows?
Hardly.
No?
No. Devendu and I read one day, I think.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
So direct.
It was like, hi. 1-2 scenes and we were like, bye.
See you in a few months.
Huh?
Then see you in a few months directly on
and
set.
then it was cut straight to set. Yeah.
So then when you come on set to a show that already has 1 season in and people already have like chemistry dynamics in scenes, how do you, like your first scene which you guys had together, like how do you figure out how you're going to play it out? Because your prep could be completely different from his prep. It could be completely different from how the director wants to see the scene. So do you do rehearsal scenes to kind of figure out that dynamic before?
No, you know your character, I know my character. We play. Simple.
And does it ever happen where you break? And have you ever broken character because something unexpected has happened in a scene?
No.
You know how to like mute out the external noise in a way.
Only once for Salzburg flamenco, I burst out laughing when he's my husband, and
Oh, he's so funny.
yeah, he's very funny. So we were doing this bedroom scene where I'm just doing some work, and I say
Accounting,
I'm the
yeah.
Khajanji,
Yeah.
and he says, "So, acha, what do you all do?" So I said, "I'm Khajanji, and 500 crore ka business hai." And then the moment I said 500 crore, he spat out the water, right?
Yeah,
From
yeah.
his mouth. I didn't know he was going to do that. And I also burst out laughing. And I was like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But it was just one of those, it's a reflex thing. I mean, you're
Yeah.
human at the end of the day. It's just somebody really bursts out laughing and it's just a natural reaction that happened. But I think apart from that, I've never broken out of character. Yeah. Neither nor in Mirzapur nor in Saspo or Flamingo.
I mean, because there's such such outlandish shows
Yeah.
with so many things happening that wouldn't happen to you in your regular life. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to kind of keep composure sometimes, right?
Yeah, no, only once. Just this one where you just went like, blah. I was like, oh. Homie's also laughing, so it's fine.
And but okay, before you get on set, like before to do a scene, what do you do in the Vanity in terms of your prep for the scene? Do you do
I
any-
mostly put a candle. I have some nice classical music playing. And I make it dark, and I'm mostly lying down.
You don't read the scene or
Not necessarily.
You've done your homework
yeah,
before
I've
that.
already read scenes. I don't read them
Okay.
at that point. I like to listen to some music. I stay away from my phone. I never look at my phone when I'm shooting something. I think that's very distracting, being on your phone, And especially if you've opened Instagram, you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
If you've gone
wormhole.
down the doom scroll,
Yeah.
you are doomed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd never do that. I think I just chill or if
Any form of acting riyaz that you do before a scene, like vocal exercises or
no, not really. No. All that has to happen before. None of that is going to work if you're going to do it before a scene.
Yeah.
It all needs to be done before. Yeah, this is now performance day. Now you go and chill and have fun.
Yeah.
Because that's when something new will come out. Like now there are scenes like this, like the last Punjabi film. There were many things that I found during the scene, like many, many moments that I found while doing a scene that I was doing, which I hadn't thought of. Where, yeah, so I think that for me now that just feels really nice.
And finally, like coming back to the struggle part, do you? I mean, you aren't very active on social media. You've said that, and I mean, does that hamper like the kind of work you're getting, or?
I think it is a notion that it hampers, but I don't think it hampers anything in the
greater scheme of things.
In the greater scheme of things, and the larger scheme of things, I don't think it will hurt anybody. I think if you know what you're doing, and if you're passionate about what you're doing, and you do it with utmost honesty, I don't think you should be worried.
But has
about
there ever
those
been a
things.
case where you've lost out on a role because someone had a bigger following, social media
I've
presence?
heard these things. I know once when I was doing a music video, there was a beautiful dancer who was cast in the video, and then a month later, suddenly they turned around and they said, "Oh, he's not doing this anymore." So I said, "Why?" So they started showing me different options of the other dancers. They were sure they wanted me in the video, but they were still casting the boy. So I said, "But why are we doing this? It was decided, right? Like you told me he's being cast and I'm in the video." Then I realized that it was a thing of followers. So I said, I just want to let you know that I'm only going to do this music video with him because he's fabulous at what he does and there is no reason to replace him. So if you want me in the video, you have to bring him back. Otherwise, you can go and recast both the characters. And then just then Mirzapur dropped. They were like, "Oh, we definitely want you." And Arjun will also be in the video. I said, "Okay, great. We can do this now."
Did you think for a moment that they would like drop you because of that?
So I said, "Drop me. It's fine. I don't care anymore. You want to drop me? Drop me. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be.
I'll get other work."
Yeah. So you've never had like this thing that these regrets of like losing out on work?
No, see, earlier, that's what I said. First 7-8 years, it was functioning out of a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a lot of naiveness. Will I get this? Will I not get this? A lot of stress, a lot of pressure. I really want to do this. Will this happen for me? Will this not happen for me? Eventually, as I started working on my craft and working on acting and working on all the areas of acting and performance, I realized I don't need to be insecure anymore. If I'm good at what I do, they will come back to me.
So the confidence of knowing that you're good at what you do, what did that come from? It not necessarily comes from the external validation you get from people who are watching you. It comes from within, right?
Yeah, it does.
So
It
how
has to
did you
come
get
from
that?
within. How did I get that? I did a lot of self work. Not self-love, a lot of self-work. Like I said, I constantly trained. I
Yeah.
think it's the only thing that gives you confidence. When it's like when you go for an exam, when you've studied, your syllabus, right? You don't need to take a chit in your pocket and go because you know it.
Yeah.
It's a thing you know from within, whether you know it or you don't know it.
True.
It's that kind of a thing. It's a thing of practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah, it's like any other craft.
Yeah, the more you do it, you will get better at it.
And have you ever thought of quitting at any point?
Oh no, never.
Never?
Never. I don't know. I never thought of quitting. However hard it was, I never thought of quitting. That thought never came.
But did people like try putting the idea in your head at any point?
Yeah, I had moved to Kerala in 2018 and I used to live alone in an apartment which was massive because I wanted to experience space. Because Bombay homes are not
Yeah, you
necessarily I have a lovely home now. I've shifted to a nice big house now. It was slightly smaller before. But by Bombay standards, we don't know space.
Yeah.
We don't understand space, right? Because we've never got crazy amounts of space. It's expensive to be in Bombay. But so I wanted to just experience space. So I had a few people who came, some people from the film, and they said, "Oh, we thought you're going to like jump out of the window or something. I used to live on the 24th floor." And in my head, I thought, how nice of you to to try and plant this stupid idea in my head. I'm not interested in doing any of that. I just want to experience space.
Yeah.
How difficult is it for you to understand that somebody can leave their city and there is a possibility of them going back? And that's exactly what happened. I came back. Kerala, the floods happened and I started getting work in Bombay and I came back after 4 months, But they were like, oh, why would a girl move from Bombay city to Kerala and stay on her own in a huge 3-bedroom hall in a massive apartment all by herself? They just, I think, couldn't wrap their head around this idea. So I stopped calling them, obviously, to my house. Because sometimes you do end up socializing and you don't know people so well, right?
Yeah.
You met them just a few times. So you think, okay, maybe it's okay. After that, I realized, oh, no. These kind of idiots should definitely not be entertained.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to call them to my house after that. Yeah, but I never thought of quitting. Never.
What kept the drive alive though?
I love acting. I love performance. I love it. I absolutely love it. There's nothing else I can imagine myself doing.
It's great that you get to do what you
Yeah.
love and get paid for it, right?
Yeah, I've never really chased money, so I'm okay like that.
Do you think that's important though? Chasing the work you
No,
want to
I
do
think it's
or chasing
important to
money?
chase what your passion is and everything else follows. Yeah, I'm a firm believer of that. I've left many jobs because, even though I was getting paid very well, because I didn't connect with it.
Like you've started shoot and quit or
No,
like
beforehand.
okay beforehand?
No, we don't go to set and create any kind of ruckus at any point. I'm very clear. When I know now I'm very clear. Earlier I didn't have this kind of clarity. Now I know if I want to work with certain people or if I don't want to work with certain people.
So Isha, just before we finish, what advice would you give to aspiring actors and actors who are finding it difficult to get work right now?
I don't like the word advice, but I would just share that they should keep working on their craft because I think it's the only thing that will get anybody by. You will get by everything. You will just sail through everything if you know what you're doing.
And is there anything they can do to work on their craft? Like I know you spoke about acting workshops. Are there any acting workshops that you definitely recommend people should check out?
Yes. Venuji's Navarasa Sadhana at Natna Kairali in Eriniyalakuda, Kerala, Puja Swaroop and Gitanjali Kulkarni.
In terms of navigating the difficult times, what advice would you give? Like how do you kind of keep your sanity and not let it get to you?
Engage your mind. Engage with the right kind of creative people, when you walk into a room, trust your gut. Just trust your gut. It'll guide you.
So yeah, we're done. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. And thanks Isha for coming.
Thank you.